Hello and welcome to Mentors Coaching FM, the show that helps you tame the business beast and build a marketing machine so that you can focus on helping your clients get the transformation you promise. I'm Gail Seymour, founder of Mentors Coaching, the results-oriented growth platform where learning providers of all stripes can create and deliver courses and programs that handle scheduling, payments and delivery all in one place with no monthly fee. Just a simple, low commission structure that means if you don't earn, you don't pay. Hello my lovelies, welcome back to Mentors Coaching, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Gregory Cooke. Now Gregory has an absolute roller coaster of a story to share with you before we get started. He's suffered with PTSD, which took him to the brink of suicide, gone from an absolute low to transforming into being a successful global entrepreneur with 30 plus staff in his 20s, and then again having another massive transformation after being told that if he didn't change something soon, he would give himself a heart attack by the age of 30. So I don't want to really get into too much of that story because I want you to hear it from Gregory himself. But just before we start, to let you know, Gregory today is the CEO of Constant Close, which helps people remove sales calls from high ticket deals. So that's something that I'm sure you're all going to be really super interested in when we get to that point. But first of all, Gregory, if you would just give us a little bit of your story, as much or as little as you're comfortable with, about who you are and where you are now and how you got there.
Yeah, sure. So I originally started entrepreneurship around 15, but even before that, I think what kind of really set me up for it was throughout school. So I've got dyslexia, dyscalculia, and mild dyspraxia. I had a stutter throughout all of school, and actually the youngest of 6 children. So there were quite a few things in my childhood that I definitely struggled with, and that continuous problem solving for me in if it's in school or even sometimes in home life to overcome those challenges and overcome those problems really set me up without knowing it for later life, as an entrepreneur. And I often struggled even from a very young age with, I said, mental health challenges. And even back then, I don't think it was fully recognised. But when I was 11 years old, I was in such a dark place that I actually put myself in hospital for 18 months and was schooled in hospital with psychological leg paralysis. And again, it's the first time I've actually put this story on any podcast I've been on. But in short, I was one of 4 people every year in the UK to go through this. And essentially what it is, my mind was under so much pressure and stress and, just in that point that it would tell my legs essentially not to move. And for 3 weeks at a time, I would have fits and my legs wouldn't move. And my poor mother, I put her through an absolute whirlwind of emotions, and they couldn't work it out until I kind of grew out of it and we got some help and stuff. And then at 15, I started with kind of entrepreneurship, and it was selling memory cards off eBay. So I was in school, buying them from China, selling them on eBay, and was making around $1,600 a week, which is like £1,200. And did that for 8 to 12 weeks before my mother shut it down because she thought I was scamming people. There's no way you can make this sort of money. And I was using her PayPal account and my sister's email address because I couldn't get my own. I could get my own email address, but I couldn't get my own PayPal account. So basically that was shut down. But that was really the first taste of entrepreneurship really for me. And then I guess kind of moving on a little bit, you mentioned it in the intro. When I was 16, I had PTSD after suffering 2 traumatic events out in Zambia whilst volunteering with street children. One where I very nearly lost my life and said goodbye to everyone on the back of a truck with stones hailing down on me and 30 men surrounding the truck. And somehow managed to escape that. And about 10 days later, suffered another traumatic event where I felt ill to the point where I could not hold my own body weight. And was taken to a Zambian clinic, not a Western clinic, and was dragged into a room by 6 men, and I probably won't go into too much detail on that, but it was quite a traumatic thing. And I came back and didn't speak about it. And 9 months later, whilst at an athletics academy in St Albans in London, I wrote a letter basically to say goodbye to everyone, and took myself down to the train station. And thank God that day I didn't go ahead with it, but my intention was to jump in front of the 10:14 St Albans, St Pancras. And luckily there was an old woman who was sat next to me 2 minutes before the train came and just spoke to me and asked me for help with this map. And it kind of just took me out of the trance, and I broke down crying. And and for me that was a pivotal moment of my life, because it wasn't just those experiences, it was all the experiences growing up in the challenges and struggles I had. Even though I would say on the whole I had a really happy childhood, my family are very close, there's 8 of us. I've always been lucky to have that support. I think even with that support around you, it's difficult to, you can still have challenges. To the outside world, it will look perfect, but internally, it can be the complete opposite. And so when I returned and I kind of overcome those challenges, I got stuck into the e-commerce world again, and had 2 successful brands, one a dog collar and lead set, which was getting into places like John Lewis, Petco, and other big retailers. And then also a clothing Shopify business. And then that transitioned into the e-commerce agency, where at the height we had 42 staff. Some were part-time contractors, some were contractors, some were full-time, and they were spread across 6 different countries. And we built over 2,000 Shopify stores during that 3.5 year period. So it was quite an operation. And last December I exited that. December 2021. Last 9 months was just kind of doing a bit of speaking, consultation, and then last summer gone, we launched Constant Close, which, as you already touched on in the introduction, removes the need of sales calls for coaches and consultants when selling high ticket deals, so anywhere up to around 50,000. So that system came about, which I'm sure we'll get into, from the agency, where we had a team of 8 sales reps, and we transitioned away from those 8 sales reps to a system where we didn't need sales reps, and it could kind of run, not on autopilot, that's a cringy marketing word everyone uses. There is still some effort involved, but a lot less stress, time and money involved to make those sales. So in a nutshell, I guess that's my story crammed into probably 3 minutes. But yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit before we get into, and we are going to get into the whole not needing sales. Be under no illusion, we are going to dive into that, because I know that's what everybody really wants to know. If you can make a sale without having a sales call. Yay! So, but before we do that, you also have this impact over money ethos. And I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about that first, because I know that's also something that will resonate with my listeners. And so if you'd like to share that with us.
Yeah, sure. So I'll be brutally honest. I think during the e-commerce days, and then even, up until, I say, a year before I exited the agency, it was agency / consultancy. We had like 25k, and we had some done for you. It was kind of a mixture of both. But when I look back at my journey, which was I'd say my one real successful business in terms of what we built and the revenue, and I guess all the other things that came with that, I made a lot of mistakes during that time, and I think I made a lot of decisions based upon how can I feed all these mouths in the team, how can I give them somewhere to go in terms of career. And that was cash flow, and cash flow was king to get those opportunities to scale more. And I kind of realized I built this massive machine, not that I didn't care about anymore, because I did care about the people, but I looked at it and go, is that all I've done? And I don't mean that in terms of the business side. I mean in terms of the impact I'm having on people. We had over 1,600 5-star reviews. So we did something right and people liked it. But for me internally, I think about 18 months before I exited, that something's missing here. And I definitely made a few decisions during that time in the agency that I wouldn't make now, that were based upon, well, if we do this, I'm sure they'll be happy, but it'd be better for our revenue. And those decisions, I think, in the end up eating me up inside, and they weren't always for the best. Even though the short term, the numbers look good, and that's now, with constant close and everything I'm doing. We haven't touched up the Friday Founders Foundation with the mental health stuff I'm doing as well. I just believe that if you put your impact and your value over the money, and I'm not saying money's not important, because it is. It's that cash flow gives you more opportunities, and it allows you to have a greater impact.
Got cut off. We were talking about the importance of impact over money, and you were talking about how the money actually gives you the opportunity to have more impact. So if you want to pick up where you left off or finish the thought, that
yeah, of course, yeah. Apologies for that. So yeah, what I was really saying was the cash flow is important. Cash flow gives you opportunities to make that more impact, but if you're making decisions purely on cash flow, to the outside world, you can look amazing, you can have everything together, you can have the materialistic things that you want and all that sort of stuff, which I did have. But internally, when I went to bed at night and the lights went off, it was just me, my mind and my breath, I felt completely unfulfilled. And that's the point when I realised there's more to this game than hitting revenue figures, hitting targets, travelling. We were traveling the world and meeting staff and all that stuff we were doing. When I went to bed at night and I switched off everything, it was just me, I felt empty. But yet to the outside world, I looked so together. I was getting interviewed in national newspapers as a success story, and there's a Daily Express article, breaking down my whole story and stuff. And to the outside world, I was looking like this very successful young entrepreneur, which I guess in some ways, okay, I might have been. But internally, I had made decisions based upon money rather than deep impact. And for me, morally, I've always had that moral compass of I truly want to help and serve. And I just kind of went down a route of losing that a little bit, even though we had getting good results, and as I kind of said, but it's indescribable. That feeling in your belly, it just gives you that fire to wake up in the morning. That oh God, I would do this for free. If no one paid me, I would still do this. I just didn't have that, and that's when I really was starting to realise, okay, there's something missing here. There's something not quite right, and I didn't know how to fix it. And that was one of the biggest challenges I think so many people have, but it's unspoken about. Trying to find that, and people talk about passion and all these things, and yes, they're important, but at the end of the day, there's words like trying to find that deep intrinsic fire, that really your mission. Took me 8 years, and I've only really, I think, gained that now the last 9 months, and I can't wait to wake up every morning, and I haven't had that for God knows how long.
Excellent. And so now we can actually talk about the thing that gives you that passion. And so I know we know that you're in the Constant Close, you're the CEO of Constant Close. And so what is it about the business now that gives you the passion? What is it that you're doing that makes you want to jump out of bed every day and get out there and get at it?
It's the impact on the coaches and the consultants that we work with, and service providers, and seeing them go from a position where they're usually having to do loads of outreach and all this sort of stuff to get sales appointments, because it's the only way they can make sales for their program or their consultancy services, whatever they're providing. And even though they're very, very good at what they're providing and they're very good at delivering and they can get incredible client results, for most coaching consultants, getting to that stage where they're able to purely just focus on that is really, really difficult. Because what they're doing is they know they've got that, it's their offer and it's what they deliver on. But to make that happen, they have to send a load of cold DMs, they have to get on a sales call. If the sales call, if the prospect even turns up, if they're qualified, you go through the 45-minute thing that we're all told to do. Hey, build rapport, dig into their challenges. Once they've told you the challenges, use their pain to, help them agree, to give them permission to, all that sort of stuff that we all been through, I'm sure, countless times on strategy calls, which are really just sales calls in disguise. And then at the end, you do your pitch and you bat away any objections. But more for the prospect, like they buy in a pressure cooker. I don't know about you, but the amount of times, not so much these days, but in previous times, the amount of times I've bought things, and honestly, I don't think I was always fully ready, but the other person on the other end of the phone was so good that I didn't feel any way out, and I just bought it, and then I didn't really use it to the full effect, or I probably wasn't the best client for them, and that most of us buy in that pressure cooker, and you either hang up or you keep saying no, and it goes completely against our human instinct. And it's just like silence battle of like who's going to give in first. And even though it works, like I'm not going to say that process doesn't work, because it does work, and will continue to work, and sales schools will always be a part. And I'm not saying they don't work, because they do. But what I found towards the end of the e-commerce consultancy and agency, when we removed the 8-person sales team and completely transferred to this method. And by the way, that didn't happen overnight. That was 6 to 8 months of tens of thousands of testing, hours and hours of things going wrong, until we got to the point where it made sense financially. And also, we had a similar close rate to using non-sales schools, to a sales school. So it took quite a while to get this process to work, and I'm sure I'll break it down for you in a minute. But the impact is seeing that coach consultant, break free of those chains of this process which we're all told to follow. You put out content, you send a DM, you might do an ad, and you get them on a 45-minute call. And I believe, just from my own consumer buying habits, and that especially particularly the pandemic, accelerated this. And the way the coaching consultant market is, because there's so many more people entering it, people are so bored of that buying process, and they don't like it. And I don't know, I've had 6 DMs in my Facebook Messenger alone today saying, hey, hop on a call. Like, if I hopped on every single call, I would have no hours of my day left. Like, time is the most valuable currency. And yet, as for no one's fault, but we're looking to take that time away from people to buy, when we could just, I'll go through a process which allows them to buy in their own time, in the right way, and without that pressurizer. I know we use the word sleazy, and not all sales are sleazy, but there is that aspect of it. It is uncomfortable, and that's kind of why we built the system we did, because as a consumer, I didn't like it anymore. And I decided I'm going to find a way around it. So I did.
Excellent. And I'm really looking forward to you laying out for us what the alternative is, because I really don't like sales calls. I mean, I don't. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And I always tell everybody my sales process is as simple as, I do what I do, and people ask me for help, and I say to them, tell me what you want. I'll tell you what I can do. And if there's an overlap, we'll talk numbers. That is as salesy as it gets. I'm allergic to it. I don't like doing it. And I know I've got clients and I've got listeners who are in that same boat. And it's, as you say, as a consumer, you get numb to it. You just, yes, it works, but it gets tired. It gets old. And so I'm really looking forward to you laying out what the alternative is.
Sure. Okay. So I will lay it out for you. Obviously, there's a visual. If you go and see me on social media, you'll see a visual of this process. But for your listeners, I'll lay it out, in as simple way as I can, because it is a simple process. But real quick before I do that, I think people think I hate sales. I don't. I've been in sales for years. My first job was a car salesman on Jaguar Land Rover in where I used to live in Liverpool. I cold called 12 hours a day for 2 years, selling IT equipment to business owners who didn't want it. I've closed millions in high ticket deals for myself and also other people. And so it's not that it's not necessarily I can't do it, but it's just, if there's a better way, a more efficient way, why not do it? So how it works really simply is the beauty of it is the exact same process that you're probably used to and a lot of your listeners are probably used to. You'll see an ad, you'll see a bit of content, maybe some will outreach to you on a Facebook or LinkedIn direct messenger, right? And typically you'll go through a sales funnel process, right? It might be a lead magnet, a low ticket offer, a 8 to 10 minute VSL, and then you apply. That stays the exact same, okay? We personally prefer a low ticket offer, but that process is the exact same. And usually once you apply, you then go ahead and you book a sales call, or sorry, a strategy call, which we all know is a sales call. And that is then where the system goes and you get in the call if you show up and you buy or you don't buy, they follow up with you and all the things. With our constant close system, once you apply, you cannot book a sales call. It takes you to a page that says, thank you for applying. We will get back to you within 24 hours once we've had a look over your application. So that does two things immediately. One, it makes you look like an authority. Because, oh, wow, I can't book a call. And people want to get a little bit offended with that. Right, I thought I was just going to be able to book a call and go and speak to someone. So the first thing it does is, wow, these people must be busy because they're not letting anyone book calls. So that's a good thing. And it makes you sometimes look bigger than you maybe are, which is also another, because people want what they can't have. So immediately by putting that barrier in front of people, it's like, okay, this person's obviously busy, so they're obviously doing more things and they're doing better things. That's the person I kind of want to work with. So immediately it does those two things. So we manually look over the application. If we like the application, we approve it. If we don't, we send them a few messages and say, hey, just ask a few more questions. Again, it shows you actually take care. So once we approve it, you will get an automated email and SMS. And it will have basically a link to our private demonstration and enrollment page. So on this private demonstration and enrollment page, the most key thing here is there's a 5-day deadline. It's a timer that you. If you click now on your laptop, you throw away your laptop, you go to Hawaii, you buy a phone and you access that same link, it will still say the exact same timer. So we've kind of coded that in, which is pretty cool. If you do not buy within those 5 days, you cannot enroll. And what that does again is it builds real urgency, because most people, when you're on a phone, oh, hey, well, if you don't buy today, this might be gone next week. Come on, cut it out. I know I can book a call next week and I can buy this offer again. That urgency's kind of gone now with most offers. If you do not buy within the 5 days, you can't enroll until we sporadically reopen an enrollment window, which might be 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, depending on your capacity, for 48 hours, and then you can enroll in that 48 hours. If you miss it again, well, you can't enroll to the next enrollment window. So it builds urgency. You have a waiting list of clients, but also it allows people to buy in their own environment, in their own time, obviously within the deadline. And it's not like we don't offer any support. So when you come through and we approve your application, we've got a whole flow, and we've got an inbound rep who works with us. We usually hire from Latin America for that. They're relatively cheap and but really, really good, and they earn a killer wage with us compared to what they would do elsewhere. But for us as a Westerner, it's still a very good rate. And they follow the flow. So as soon as you apply, they'll call you in 5 minutes. Say, hey, we've seen your application. Just the good news, it's all approved. Do you have any questions? And usually at that point, they don't have any questions because they haven't seen the page. Oh, thanks, but you've made that human contact. During those 5 days, you have 22 touch points via email, SMS, social media, and a few quick phone calls. So, hey, have you got any questions? Which take 2 to 3 minutes rather than booking in a 45-minute call. And typically, most people, about 85% of people, will respond and ask questions. If it's when you phone them, if it's email, SMS, whatever that looks like, and then they'll go ahead and enroll. So just in terms of numbers, if you had 10 people apply during the 5-day window, around 15 to 20% will enroll. And then if you look at the beauty of it, the next window you decide to reopen, which could be whenever you want it to be, you give people a 24-hour kind of like notice, say the enrollment window is opening up next. They missed out last time. They've seen your content. They've seen all the stuff you do, and they don't want to miss out again. They're literally waiting at their laptop, waiting to enroll for that next enrollment, so they don't miss out again. So the beauty of it is, even that 80% of people who didn't enroll in the 5 days, the next 3 month windows you open, they kind of feed through that. So it's a long-term play. It's not for people who are just looking for a short-term cash grab. But what it does save you is hours and hours and hours of time. If you have 5 appointments a day for 5 days a week, that's 25 hours a week. If you're hiring sales reps, you're usually paying 10 to 15% of your revenue in commissions. Managing a sales team, for anyone of your listeners who might not have even experienced that as you scale, is a very unique a very unique job to do. It's you'll be motivated every day, and putting them up and all that sort of stuff, and training them is expensive. So it kind of removes the need for all of that and allows you to spend the majority of your time on the things that you want to spend, which is actually on calls with clients or delivering however you're doing your service. So in a nutshell, again, without showing it visually, that's how it works. It's application, notebook call, approve application, 5-day deadline, support them during the 5 days, ask any questions that they need. And then when they're ready, within the 5 days, they will enroll. If they don't, well, you have set enrollment windows where they can re-enroll. And there's that urgency in the buying process again, which is missing in most buying processes at the moment, because, again, as you said, people are just so used to it and they can see through it right away now. So I hope that helps that's basically breaking it down in a nutshell.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Gregory. Now, we're talking about coaching clients. Now, you said you like to use a low ticket offer, and then that leads into a high ticket coaching package.
Yeah.
And so, just to give people an idea, when you're talking about the low ticket offer, what sort of range and what are some of the things that you recommend people use as that low ticket offer?
Sure. So we prefer a low ticket offer, but I'll be honest, we didn't start off with one. So we started off with a free lead magnet. It was a PDF. In fact, we've still got it up. You can go and access it. Then we moved to a VSL and added that, and then now we've added in a low ticket offer. So any of those usual things work. It doesn't have to be a low ticket offer. Sometimes there's a bit more creation and time involved. We always recommend people start off just a free lead magnet or something you can do that's quick to get started, right? But in terms of the low ticket offer, ours is $37, and there's a few bumps and upsells. The total you could order from it all is on $395. Again, you said we always work in US dollars. It seems to be the international currency in the coaching and consulting world. So that's kind of the low ticket price. And one of the really important things when you create, a lot of people think, I've got to create a massive program that's going to be the value. But let's say you're like a life coach, right? And you help busy mums who have gone through a divorce, and that's your target market. Well, what's the one biggest pain that they have? I'm not a busy mum. I haven't been divorced, but it might be a routine in the morning. It might be finding time for themselves in the evening. It might be, getting out there, meeting people again on the dating scene, whatever that is. Just find one big problem, and you can just simply record a 30-minute video or break it down into like 6 5-minute chunks of your process. You don't have to give everything away, but you're trying to make it as simple as possible so someone to get an immediate result with the information you give. So a lot of times people overload these type of offers and pages they think giving more will up the value, but it doesn't. The value is the result someone gets from it. So there's a few tips and kind of price range on the low ticket, but for any of your listeners who are thinking of even trying out this process, just start with really simple, like lead magnet, a very simple landing page. I'm sure they've seen stuff that will have got stuff like that. And if any of your listeners want, you can feel free to send me a message, and I'll send you a link to ours, and you can have a look and just model it yourself. There's tons out there on the internet if you just go to Google as well. But the most important thing here is, what's the most simplest thing I can give that can get the person who's going to get the fastest result, and then that's what's going to help them move on to the next stage with you.
Excellent. So it really is all about getting that quick win and really delivering early value.
Yeah, as I say, and just to add on to that, so the quick win, and the reason we now do low ticket offers more is because we're also running some paid advertising, so it kind of recoups the advertising spend. So we actually profit off customers now. So potentially people pay us to become customers. So our average cost per acquisition, for example, on that low ticket offer is around $55.30, but the average order value is 76. That's just off one our platform. So that's where kind of, as in the future, that's where the low ticket offer really comes in. But if you're starting off with that, which sounds like a lot of your audience will be in its earlier stages, just create a lead magnet. It takes you an hour to do, and that's absolutely fine. And even like once they've gone through the lead magnet, if you want to offer like 10-minute implementation calls, they're a really good idea. So once they get the lead magnet, hey, if you spend 10 minutes with me, I'll show you how to implement it, and they build that relationship deeper. And we don't do that anymore, but in the early days we did as well.
And so when somebody's got a higher ticket coaching program, that is what they actually want to sell. Now, you did mention when you were talking, like if you paying sales commissions, you'd be paying 10 to 15%. And so I don't want to plumb the depths of your pricing structure and anything, but I'd just like to give listeners a quick idea of, what kind of value pricing do they need to be using, and what kind of costs it would be, how much of that would it actually cost them to work with you and to use your constant close?
Yeah, sure. So I'll basically relate it to your listeners first of all. So this works really well for anything from 3,000 upwards. It can work below that, but anything from 3,000 USD upwards to 50,000 works with this system. So the highest we've had, not for us, but one of our partners, was a $48,000 deal, and they were a trauma coach, and they've got a bunch of other things on there, but that was the highest I've ever seen someone close with this system. But typically most coaches, consultants who use the system are anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000. Again, some are slightly more. So in terms of our offers, and I'll break it down the offer stack, just again, I was encouraging listeners not to look at kind of, oh wow, that's how much they charge, but look how we charge it and why we charge it. So at the moment, we started off with our highest program. And I always recommend people, when they start off, ask one simple question. What's the most impact I can have with someone to get them result in the fastest way possible? What's the most impact in the fastest way possible? And 9 times out of 10, that's going to be working really, really personal with someone. So, for example, with our highest offer, we still do. We'll fly out to them. We'll spend half a day with them. We'll record in a podcast studio. We'll do a 2-hour workshop. We'll build everything for them. Literally the whole lot. We'll just give it to them, and then we'll support them for 12 months to implement it. We even hire and train their team to run the whole system for them. So that's where we started, and we've got some really good results. And over time, that price is now raised, which I'll go through in a second. And now we have some filtered down products. So now we have the coaching program, and then now we have also the low ticket offers, which we just went through. So if your listeners are below 5 clients, for example, one thing I'd recommend them to do is start off with that question: what's the most impact I can have, and get someone the fastest result possible, and have no barriers. Sometimes, I'm an online coach. Don't view yourself as an online coach, online consultant. Like if you can change someone's life by spending 4 hours with them, well, build that into your offer, charge more, and then have the online stuff. So some people just limit themselves, and you're not limiting yourself, you're limiting the impact you can have on your potential customers. It's why we all do this, should be to have the transformation on the people that we work with. So that's one thing. In terms of how we structure ours, so at the moment we have 2 offers. So we have a $25,000 offer, which is basically everything I mentioned there. We fly out to you in person, and we fly you out to Dubai, where I live at the moment, for 3 days, all expenses paid. We hire a professional studio to record the content needed for the system. We edit it all. We build the system. We hire you and train you team members. We work with you bespokely for 12 months with 4 calls with me. And there's a bunch of other stuff in there, but essentially all done for you. And we even go out to you in person. I always say it's impossible for you to fail, because we are literally doing it for you, and just and transferring it over the 12 months so you can run with it yourself beyond that. And then we built in our Done With You program. So at the moment, that's $5,000. And again, this is all sold via the constant close system. You can go on our system and you can see it. And essentially what that looks like, it's the whole system that we do for people, but you can install it yourself with one click. And, you get our weekly coaching and it's all there. I'm sure your audience have been through, I've got their own coaching and consultant programs, and you get a one-on-one session with us as well. So they're kind of our two-tier offers. We do have a higher one, but that's when you have sales teams of 20 plus and you want to transfer and you're doing multi-million. So it's probably not relevant for this audience. So I won't go into that because we don't advertise that. That's just through networking. And we've only ever sold 2 of them because it's very unique, I guess, type of business. But that's our current offer stack. But I always recommend people and your listeners start off with that one question and get a piece of paper out and just write down what is the most impact you can have on someone in the fastest time possible. And also what's enjoying, I don't know, but I didn't want to be stuck behind a laptop my whole life doing this. I want to get out there, meet people, have impact, see that. And I think a lot of your listeners might well be the same. So don't restrict yourself by thinking, I've got an online business. Yes, you use the online world as an incredible tool and platform. But, if there's more you can do, it just allows you to stand out so much more from the competition because not many people are willing to do what we do, fly out to them or fly them out here where I live in Dubai and do those things in person, and it just separates you immediately from the rest of the crowd. It shows how much you genuinely care. And also, it's more profitable because you can charge more for it as well, which, as we said, cash flow can allow you to have more impact and, expand opportunities.
Excellent. It really is. It's the Elon Musk evil master plan. That you start with a very highest tier, and what is the biggest all expenses, full value, no expense spared thing. And you say my highest tier is like 50,000 to literally go to where the client is for 2 weeks. Do all the interviews, get the information, and then write the book. So I know exactly where you're coming from on that one, but it's an interesting exercise, even just to do that and to really just take all the blocks off.
Yeah.
And what would it, if you think, what would my 50,000 package be? What would I have to do for somebody to put that kind of value in? It really is. It's a freeing exercise. I thoroughly recommend that.
Definitely, and too many people undervalue themselves, and I think from our conversation, your audience might be in this category of a lot of people that I haven't got clients yet. Well, but with what you're offering, have you spent 10 years doing it yourself? Did you do it in the corporate world? Did you do it? Maybe it's something to do with parenting or whatever. It's like you're more than qualified. You've only got to be one step ahead of someone to be an expert. And by positioning yourself, which is just words and having the confidence to do it, I will meet you, I will do this for you. It doesn't have to be, super extravagant, but just stop limiting yourself because you're better than you think and you can do it. And the confidence I know I got from actually going out and spending a day with someone, it's incredible. And it gives you that buzz, that feeling, and then that feeds into everything you do. The piece of content you're creating. And just a quick tip for anyone who listens who does go and do that, document the process. So if you're going to meet someone, document it. So instead of having a review testimonial of, hey, it was really good to work with Greg, X, Y, Z, if you actually document the process of you going to meet them, doing what you're doing, it doesn't have to be in person, whatever it is, and almost like a mini documentary style testimonial of showing exactly what it's like to work with you. And you only need one of them and you're absolutely away at the races. And there's actually a woman a lady called Catherine Poiriet, who I speak about a lot, who's known as the 100K offer woman. You might have seen her online. I absolutely love her stuff. And she talks about this a lot, and that's why we have got one extra offer, which is 250K. I don't really speak about because it's for a sales team of 15. It's just a totally unique offer. It's not relevant probably to most of this audience. But it was her practicing and teachings which gave me the confidence. Do you know what? We can help an even higher tier of people who need our help, and that one's like 7 days all paid for on a 5-star hotel, all this amazing stuff. Like, and for your audience, just sit there, get a piece of paper after this podcast, write down what's the most I could do for someone, and if I could describe the most perfect package that someone offered me for what I do, I would jump at what does that look like, and just go for it. Just go for it. If you never sell it, well, it makes your lower packages look even more attractive because you've got, oh wow, they offer 50, like for you, they offer 50,000 package. Whoa, they must be really good. And it makes your 5,000 offer, your 3,000 offer, your 7,500 offer, whatever it is, looks almost like a bargain to work with you because you charge X amount. And too many people in this coaching space undervalue themselves and their skills. And to all the listeners who've ever thought that you are better than you think, do it. You can do it.
Excellent. Right. So then we come to the last two questions, which is always the same for everybody. The first of those is, if somebody wants to continue the conversation and wants to work with you or find out more, what's the best way for them to do that?
So if you go to constantclose.co, you'll see everything we do there and everything about the company in ways. There's like free resources, no ticket product, as we mentioned as well, and everything's on there. If you want to get with me more personally, the best is LinkedIn and YouTube. So Gregory Cooke on LinkedIn. I'm sure there might be a link down below this podcast to my social profile as well. You'll probably see it there. And YouTube at the moment, I'm dropping 2 videos a week. Monday is more value-based, like giving you actual lessons on this whole system and how it works. And then Friday is more coffee style meeting on how I'm growing my coaching and consulting business, things that are going wrong, things that are going right, and just a raw insight into my week. So they're the 2 best places to come and seek me out. And my inbox is always open if anyone's got any questions. Happy to help.
And the final question, is there anything else that you wanted to say or share that I didn't ask you?
I think just one final message for your listening, and we just touched on it there. It goes inside to see so many amazing coaches, consultants who have an incredible transformation to share with people, undervalue themselves because of what they think they're worth in the market. You are totally unique. I'm sure you've got a process and program, however it is you deliver it, and just please charge what you're worth. And it's when you can work with clients who pay you that bit more, you can, as we already discussed, you can have that greater impact. That's where that fire gets lit and that true fulfillment comes from. So one final message for listeners is just please, know your worth in this space, have confidence in it, and just go for it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your time today, Gregory. I really think a lot of people will benefit from the resources and also breathe a huge sigh of relief at the thought that, we don't all have to do the sales calls. There is another way.
There is another way. And, it's once you get it to work, the freedom it gives you is profound. So, yeah.
Excellent.